Hello class, today we're going to talk about section 7.6, which is multiplying a polynomial by a monomial. By the end of today's lesson, we will be able to distribute a monomial into a polynomial. This is very similar to the distributive property, except for we are doing it to more than two terms. So now we've got our polynomial, which could be 3, 4, 5, 6, and any number of terms. So we're using that same idea, and we need to distribute into each piece. So we've got negative 7 times 7x squared. Negative 7 times 7 is going to give us negative 49x squared. Then I've got negative 7 times negative x. Negative times negative is a positive 7x. And then I've got negative 7 times positive 4, which is going to give me negative 28. So it's just the same as the distributive property when we have a number on the outside. Go ahead and try this one on your own. 35x squared plus 28x minus 56. So now what we're going to do, again, same kind of idea, but this time we have a variable on the outside as well. So we're distributing this whole outside term into the inside term. So we've got our 2 and our 7 that are being multiplied, so that's going to give me 14. And then I've got x times x squared. If you remember back to our product rule, that means we're going to add up our exponents. So I'm going to have x to the third. Now I've got 2x times negative x squared. 2 times a negative is going to give me negative 2. And x times x is going to give me x squared. And then I've got 2x times 4. 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. And then bringing that x along as well. So we're multiplying the numbers and the variables in this case. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Being careful to bring that negative along with you, we've got negative 10x cubed minus 8x squared plus 16. Remembering a negative times a negative is a positive on that last one. Very similar type of thing here. We've now got a number and a variable with an exponent. We're still following the same rules of distributive property. So I've got 3 times 7, which is 21. X squared times x squared is going to give me x to the fourth, adding up those exponents. Now I've got 3 times negative x, which is going to give me negative 3. And then I've got x squared times x, which is going to give me x cubed. And then I've got 3 times 4, which is going to give me plus 12, and then just x squared. Go ahead and try this one on your own. You got 55x to the fourth plus 44x cubed minus 88x squared. Sometimes you will get variables that do not match. You still are able to do this distribution. You just cannot combine your variables anymore. So we still are going to pay attention to our numbers and do 4 times 7, which is going to give me 28. X squared times y. Those can't go together, so we're just going to list those variables in alphabetical order. So x squared followed by y. We've now just added on the y for multiplication. Now we've got 4y times negative x, so I've got negative 4, again, listing them alphabetically, x and then y. And then I've got 4y times 4, which is going to give me 16, and then I've just got that y on the end. So when you have a variable that does not match your other ones, you can still multiply them together by just tacking it on the end. So it's not going to change the exponent if the variables don't match. Go ahead and try this one on your own. You end up with negative 30x squared p, and that should actually, if I was following what I said earlier, follow in alphabetical order and be p followed by x squared. Same thing with the second one. We've got negative 24, and then it should be p x with our variables listed alphabetically, and then plus 48p. Sometimes we have more complex problems where we're going to need to multiply and then check for like terms afterwards. So we're going to start with our distribution. We've got 2p times negative 4p squared. So I've got negative 8p to the third. And then I've got 2p times 5p, which is going to give me 10p squared. So now we've distributed that first part. We're going to go ahead and do the second distribution, which is negative 5 times 2p squared, which is negative 10p squared. And then negative 5 times 20 gives us minus 100. Now, since we had our two separate pieces, we're going to want to go ahead and check if there's anything that we can add or subtract. If we are looking at this, we've got negative 8p to the third. That can't be combined with anything. Let's see. Negative 8p to the third. Then I've got 10p squared and negative 10p squared. When I add those up, or put those together, I've got 10 plus negative 10, which is going to give me 0. So I have no p squareds left. And then we've just got minus 100. So these two middle pieces canceled each other out. Go ahead and try this one on your own, making sure that you combine those like terms at the end if possible. So we ended up with negative 24m to the third, 40m plus 21m squared minus 105. There are no like terms here, but you should have it written out in standard form. Finally, I know this one looks a little daunting, but it's just a lot of distributions in one problem. There is an equal sign in the middle, so that means we are going to try and solve for something. So we're going to go through and do our distribution. So I've got 10a squared minus 4a. Then I'm going to move on to my next distribution, and I've got plus 6a squared plus 18a. And then on the end, I just have my plus 8 that isn't being distributed to anything. So that takes care of our left side of the equation. Now, for the right side, I'm going to go ahead and start by distributing the a. So I've got 4a squared plus 1a. And then I'm going to do my next distribution. And we've got 12a squared minus 8a. And then once again, that 50 on the end is just standing independently. Now, this is still a pretty long problem, so we're going to want to deal with one side at a time. I'm going to start with the left side first. So I'm looking for any like terms. And over here I've got 10a squareds and 6a squareds, which is going to give me a total of 16a squared. And then I've got negative 4a and 18a, which when I add those together is going to give me 14a. And then I have my plus 8. That can't be combined with anything. So all we did here was just simplify down our left side of the problem. Then we're going to do the same thing with the right side. So I've got 4a squared, and this should be a 12a squared. So I've got 16a squared. And then I've got 1a minus 8a, which is going to give me negative 7a. And then we've got our plus 50. So now we've simplified both of the sides of the equation down to something that looks more manageable. Now we're going to have to start moving our variables from one side to the other, solving just like we would with an equation with variables on both sides. So I'm going to take away 16a from the right side, which means I need to take away the 16a squared from the left side. When I do that, those cancel out, and we're left with 14a plus 8 on the left, and negative 7a plus 50 on the right. I'm going to keep moving my variables around. I'm going to try and get rid of that negative 7 by adding 7a to both sides. And that's going to give me 21a plus 8 is equal to 50, not 58. And then I'm going to go ahead and subtract 8 from both sides, giving me 21a is equal to 42. And I'm going to finish that out by dividing both sides by 21 and concluding that a is equal to 2. So even though this problem was a little bit longer and involved more steps, we still can solve it. You just have to take your time and make sure that you are following the proper steps. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Doing the distributions on the left side first, you get d squared plus 3d minus d squared plus 4d is equal to 9d minus 16. Those d squareds cancel out when you're combining your like terms, so you have 7d is equal to 9d minus 16. Subtracting 9d from both sides, negative 2d is equal to negative 16. Dividing by negative 2 gives you 8. If you have questions about this or anything else from the lesson, please let me know when you get to class.